Welcome to WO50 Podcast, where women over 50 embody wisdom and wellness.
Yes, we do. My name is Corrine, and I'm here with my BFF of many years, Eddi Kenny. And today our topic was bones and groans.
Oh, but it was a positive bones and groans.
Yeah. We just talked about how we can get a little more bones that we're groaning about as we get older, and how to sort of be real with it, be honest with it, and not be overly dramatic about it, and how to look after ourselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of the emotional support around it.
Yeah.
And just little tidbits of how to deal with it.
Yeah. I think it was, and I love the title. Thanks for coming up with the title, Ed.
Yeah, that was fun.
We hope you enjoy the topic today, bones and groans. Hello, Ed.
Hello, Ken. How are you?
I'm good. You just got back from vacation.
I did. Really nice, sunny, beautiful days.
Lots of beach.
Lots of beach, beautiful sandy beach out here. Lovely place called Lumsden and Eastport and Trinity, and a lovely little place called Champigny's West.
Yeah, spelled almost exactly the same. It has an EY though at the end, right?
That's right. Yeah. Beautiful little place. And we stayed at an Airbnb there, and it was just lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't have any Wi-Fi or cell service, or you were really unplugged?
We were unplugged. Out in Lumsden, we were off the grid, solar panels, and we toted our own water, and it was kind of like glorified camping, but it was comfortable, and it really makes you look at how you consume and how you take things for granted.
Yeah.
And when you use water sparingly, and then when you get to it and you turn it on and it's hot, wow.
Yeah, because at one point you told me the place you were staying in, you had to bring in your own water. What exactly did that mean? Like you were at a cabin that had no running water?
Yes. So it's capable of having running water, but it wasn't set up and turned on, but it collects the water. So it has collects the rainwater and it filters it, and then it comes through. But your shower is like 30 seconds if you get one. But this wasn't set up when we were there. So we had to bring in, water and boil it to drink and boil it to wash, and, just like, 1800s. No, it wasn't that bad. No TV. Yeah.
No Wi-Fi to watch Netflix.
Nope, not even one bar on your phone you could call, but you have to get in the right spot. But, to hold the phone up in the air and go, oh, here it is. No, there it is.
But to me, that's one step above camping.
Yep. But, the beds are in there and it's comfortable, and there's a little stove and you can cook, which we did.
Yeah.
And we had fresh fish out of the water and fresh vegetables around, the neighborhood, and there was berries, and it was just lovely. And the moon, like it was almost like a 360 where you're on the peninsula and you could hear the ocean, like the windows are open, the air is fresh, it's clean, the waves are rolling. There was 2 humpbacks were blowing out in the harbor, and you could hear it, and it was just magical. The moon was incredible. It lit up the whole sky, and the stars.
It was a blue moon.
And it was a blue moon this month or in August. Yeah. So absolutely amazing. And the stars just look like they're, right on top of your head. So, it's a really good experience because there's no light pollution, and you're just really respectful of everything. The toilet is composting. I mean, you gotta, put the stuff in it and put it back into the earth, and you literally have to deal with your own shit.
It reminds me a little bit when I used to go to India when I was younger, when I first started going to India, and I'd have to wash my own clothes by hand in a bucket, and also heat up the water in the bucket. We used to have these elements to take a sponge bath because there was just cold showers. I still a lot of times I have a cold shower in India, but to get any warm water, they used to have these heating elements that were this big that you'd put in a bucket to heat up the water because there is the only way to heat up the water. So it reminds me a little bit of that, which I liked that perspective. I'm not a big camper. Well, I'm not a camper at all. I don't like camping in any way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
But I like India, which is kind of almost the same thing. And it really makes you more mindful and appreciative. Like I still, because of spending so much time in India, every
Mhm.
time I turn on the water, I feel grateful, even though I have a filter on my water. We could drink the water pretty much out of the tap, really anywhere in America, North America, and probably in Europe as well, right? Where you literally cannot drink the water out of the tap in India, although some people do, but there's so many things that we have.
Mhm. Yes, and
The
as we get older, we like our comforts and I remember going camping back 5 or 6 years ago, and we set up a tent and laid on the ground, and my bones, I was like, I am so cold. I was so cold. The temp dropped suddenly, and all I could say was my rod was cold, and I meant my spine. And it was telling the story was amazing. And I think that's the last time I slept on the ground.
yeah.
Yes. So that's it. We have bones and groans.
Yes, that's a good intro for our talk today, bones and groans. And I certainly, have some bones and groans the past, well, 5 weeks now since I fell. And I'm going to finally go get an x-ray tomorrow because I still cannot straighten my right arm. So,
Wow. Mm.
so I'll find out. But and then my left hand, she's going to get my left hand x-rayed too because I think I might have broken a bone in here. She said it
Wow.
still looks swollen. I'm like, yeah, it's still swollen. And now my left thumb. So I've been grateful for my left hand because even though my left hand's pretty useless, you're pretty ambidextrous, but I until 5 weeks ago, I really was a total righty. My left isn't good for much of anything at all, except for assisting my right, right? And then so when I hurt my right arm so bad, I had to use my left for everything. Well, now my left thumb is starting to get sore. So now I get pains when I open things with my left hand. And I'm like, really, universe? It's like
Mm-hmm.
both hands now, like the
Yeah.
universe is slowing me down.
And I think, you know what? We got to just become aware of it, just awareness around it, and we can't get upset at ourselves for these things. What do you think? Like it's like the pain is always that volume on the body. It's like a sound measurement, It's a on a scale of 1 to 10. What's your pain today? I hear that a lot from people, and because it's not always on 11, it's 10. No, it's 11. It's going to, as we get older, it's going to kind of have a sliding scale to it. It's going to, some days are going to feel great. Look, you fell. You've never had issues in your tissues like that, right?
No.
Hurting your, yeah.
Well, I
And
broke my foot in India years ago,
yeah.
but I was able
And
to have a cast.
yeah, and your body heals differently in your 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s. So we have to be a little more gentler with ourselves too, with the injuries, and not be hard on ourselves and saying negative things to our bodies, you know?
Yeah. I must admit I'm usually that way. I'm usually pretty patient and especially the first 5 weeks of this arm, I was like, being very gentle with it and very grateful that really grateful that I didn't smash my face, which could have happened, and I didn't draw
Mhm.
much blood, which, so even though I had a lot of aches, like a lot of pains, I was grateful mostly, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but this morning I found myself when I was trying to wash my hair and I still can't use my right hand to wash my hair at all. I was getting a little bit irritated. But then that's what it's time now to go get it x-rayed and figure it out, just
Mhm.
to rule out anything that a doctor
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. Rule out some things like that. There's not, you know, any bones broken or major issues that have to be dealt with, that you're not missing anything. That's so important to follow up when something doesn't heal in natural progression. There's because our bodies are either regenerating or degenerating. And as we get older, they start degenerating. And this is why we get the degenerative things. You hear a lot. I see it a lot this week in my office. People are I'm in my 60s, just got diagnosed degenerative disc. And I'm like, yeah, it's spinal, and they're in pain and can't move. I can't exercise. I'm like, well, let's find something you can do. Maybe some gentle yoga, maybe some walking, or even when there's a painful day, just really rest. And even when you have a day where there's no pain, even rest then. You don't have to get all the laundry done because you feel so good, you know? So it's listening to your body and yeah, feeling into it.
Yeah. This is a Tony Robbins 101 thing. Tony used to say, people either look at things worse than they are or they look at things better than they are. And what we're saying is to look at things exactly as they are and to respond accordingly, right? So I tend to look at things better than they are. And that's why I still haven't had an x-ray after 5 weeks. Um, because I accept, and that's what I try to help coach people with, because I know pain is difficult, both emotional pain and physical pain is challenging. And I don't want to discount that, but there's also an attitude that you can have I think that's what you were alluding to in your office a little bit and helping with people, because if they can't do what they normally do, then they're like, they shut themselves off. Well, I can't do that. And you're
Mhm.
helping to give suggestions, because I haven't been able to do my morning five rights yoga that I've been doing every day for 4.5 years. I
Yeah.
definitely haven't been able to do that. But instead of complaining about that, I do the other yoga that I can do, which is my gentle awareness yoga. Luckily, I can do that.
Mhm.
I couldn't do it the first 2 weeks, but I can do it now. I can walk. I can garden somewhat. I can't pull really hard weeds, but I can garden somewhat.
Mhm.
And so looking at what we can do and not
Mhm.
what we can't do, I guess it's kind of the same as when you're changing your eating. You don't focus on what you can't eat, you focus on what you can.
Right. And
Yeah.
and because those areas of your body haven't been used, again, as we get older, muscles get smaller, bones get weaker. So you once the pain lessens and we make sure nothing's broken, then you start doing things to get them back in and caught up with the rest of your body, back in working order. So you just because you're arms and hands are a little bit challenging right now, you don't forget about your feet, your knees, and your hips, and your head,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? You're working those areas of your body as well. So movement can be changed up. So and
Yeah.
it's important. And then you start with a few, maybe a pound weight, and you start lifting that or just squeezing some balls in your hands, those squishy things. And you start just, hand yoga. There's,
Yeah. A little bit
that's for
every day.
you.
I actually can't lift any weight I can't do anything with my right arm
Not
yet.
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 Not
But
yet. But once your body starts to heal and you get more, flexibility and motion back, you'll get that worked right back into shape again.
yeah,
It's
that's the
not going to
thing.
stay as is.
Right. That's what you learn about when you injure yourselves. And that's what athletes know is like, it's like, yes, it can be depressing when you have an injury, when you're sick, but it doesn't have to be. And
Yep.
if you allow yourself the downtime, like you were talking about, allow yourself to do different things or allow yourself not to do anything for a while if that's what's needed, and give yourself permission to not do anything, which is harder for most people than doing. and
Yes.
then and then it's amazing to me how, like, even doing the podcast, it's like it's I've always had this philosophy. That's why I play a little bit of guitar every day. I don't play for 2 hours, but I play for 20 minutes every day. And then same with exercise. I jump on my trampoline. I don't jump on my trampoline for 45 minutes, but I do a minimum of 6 minutes a day, 6 to 10 minutes a day. And we all have these things. You've got your pickleball and you enjoy walking, and
Hiking and
you're
boating.
hiking and your yoga and and so
Mhm.
it's the same thing when you're rehabilitating yourself. It's the accumulation of doing something every day. So if
Mhm.
you're ignoring the injured part, but you're also ignoring the non-injured part, things start to stiffen up. But the beautiful thing is, about even if you do that, once you start to feel better, you might not be able to run a marathon the first day, but you do little increments and you're patient, and it's about a little bit every single day.
And maybe you don't want to run a marathon anymore. Maybe it's a stop and pause time in your life, and reevaluate and start looking at things a little differently. Oh, I took that for granted. Didn't realize how important that was to me. We start just kind of taking stock of
Yeah.
our lives, and the gifts that we have, and how thankful we are for our bodies and our minds, and realizing motion is lotion. When we move, that even I remember my aunt, she had so much arthritis, such pain in her body. And she said, if I don't move, it hurts. It hurts so much more. But once I get going and I'm moving and everything's, flowing, I don't even think of the pain. I'm
Yeah.
too busy doing this and this. And, yeah,
That's
we learn
beautiful.
from our elders. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Matthew, I love Matthew McConaughey. He's got a book called Green Lights, is one of my favorites that came out a couple years ago. And it's just these journals that he wrote, and it's his life, and he's a great storyteller. But he says now, even because even though he's had some work done on his face, so he doesn't look very old, but he's in his late 50s, mid 50s, I think. And
Yeah.
so people will ask him, and he's done a lot of physical stuff his whole life. So he's got to have some aches and pains. And they're like, how is it getting up out of bed in the morning? And he's like, getting up out of bed in the morning is not as easy as it used to be. And I just talk to myself and I'm like, okay, McConaughey, just be patient, just give yourself some time. And after I've been up for a while and have some coffee and, it takes time. And I find that too. It's like, that's what I use my meditation for, is when I wake up in the morning, even if I've had a good night's sleep, I kind of feel like crap. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, do you feel good in the morning? I'm like, not really. But after I meditate for an hour, I feel amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
when I get up to use the bathroom at whatever, 7 a.m. or 7:30 a.m., and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just so tired still. Not sleepy, but my
Yeah.
body's a little achy and just, and then I sit and meditate for an hour and then I'm just like, oh, it's a good day
Yeah.
now. Do
Yeah.
you do
That
that at
works.
all?
Well, when I'm um waking up in the morning, I actually am very thankful. I don't have aches and pains right now. But when I do a lot of physical work, like we painted the outside of our house, 2 weeks ago. And my husband's cutting on, and this is a whole house. This is like the outside where you hire painters to do it. We're like, no, we can do it. And he's cutting, we'll just take our time. Well, once you get painting, it's hard to stop because you're loving the color and you're like, well, let's keep going. And we did. So I'm rolling, and he's 6'4" and I'm not. I'm 5'6". Turn the numbers the other way. And he's up on the ladder. We're taking care so no one falls. And I'm rolling and I'm stretching and I'm on my tippy toes to get to the next layer. And no problem. No problem. Next day I get up. I was like, oh, did you ever feel like your ribs have collapsed? Yeah, that's what it felt like. I'm like, oh my God, I think I might have overdone it. You think? You think? That's not my job. I don't go around painting houses. So I'm using parts of my body, but it didn't take much time for it to snap, back, and a few days. And I was drinking my, anti-inflammatory shakes, putting my turmeric in and my ginger and loading up on my protein and making sure my nutrients were there. So no, didn't take my body for granted that day. Yeah, for sure. But we're going to use them differently. And as we get older, we're going to feel places that we're overusing. Like even my mom, I saw her yesterday and I've lectured her about complaining because if she gets somebody that listens, she orders a big story, and she's got 9 lives. And yesterday I go in to check her feet because she's diabetic, and I was like, how are your feet doing, Mom? She goes, oh well, they're good, and they're purple, and I'm like, how are they doing today? She goes, they're great. They're getting me from the kitchen to the living room. So she
So
didn't complain.
cute. She
She
wasn't
never said
complaining. You have to
no.
explain. I want to hear a little more about why your mom has 9 lives.
Oh, well, my goodness, she has had so many health issues over the years, starting, when my little brother was born, she was in her early 40s. That was the last sibling born. And
Number
then she,
6,
number 5,
number
and
5.
then she had, a heart attack. She's had stroke. She's had stints. Mom is just amazing. And medicine's done her very well because she has an amazing team of docs around her. But what really keeps her going is her community connection. She has so much love from her nieces and nephews and her relatives and her kids and
And grandkids.
grandkids and great grandkids that, I mean, it's on and on. Her friends, it's amazing.
And she
Yeah.
lives in the basement of your brother and your sister-in-law and their two little ones.
Yeah, they bought the house that she lived in when she had, apartment down underneath the house and she rented that out. And now that, when my younger brother and his wife, my lovely sister-in-law, they took it over and they're so amazing. They're all very blessed to have each other because the kids come down and, it's just lovely to have the elders and the youth and sharing stories and yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's so great to hear. I love that. And your mom is going to be 89 or 90.
Yeah, 89.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
she's just incredible. She does have 9 lives and she's
So
such a little
smart.
sweetheart. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she, that reminds me of I think I told you about the new series on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's in Canada yet, but it's based on that book that you read called the blue it's the Netflix
Blue
series is called
zones.
the Blue Zones, and it's based on the book The Blue Zones, but the Netflix series is called Centarians,
Yes.
because centarians know the people that live to 100. So he studies 4 or 5 places around the world where people not only live in the hundreds, there's a big population, but they're healthy. There is no diabetes, there's no heart disease, there's no um, dementia. And
No.
and so he shows you, there's I think 4 different episodes, and he makes a graph of what each one of them has in common. And actually, probably the biggest thing they have in common is just exactly what you said, is the community, because then around community there's cooking and there's movement, because it's
Yes.
not necessarily exercise, it's natural movement
That's
more
right.
so than actual exercise.
Yes. Yes. And it gives them purpose. I was in one of those places. I went to Sardinia, um,
Where all the
Italy.
hills are, that was a big
Yes.
part of their, because everything's a steep on a hill is what they said.
Yes, and they made their own bread, they grew their vegetables, they didn't eat junk food and processed foods, like, they ate really clean.
Yeah, but they eat a ton of potatoes and flour
Yes, I
in
know.
Sardinia.
Yeah, but a lot of them, they mill
They do.
their own flour,
And they
yes,
and they make their own bread, so they're using their muscles and stuff. And
but they're
so
walking and they're burning this off all the time, that's the point, but they're not using artificial sweeteners, they're using
yeah,
honey.
honey, yeah, a lot of them have honey
Mhm.
nearby. Yeah, so I recommend that series. Have you looked to see if it's in Canada yet? It just
No, I
came out
haven't
like
looked yet.
3 or 4 days ago, so it's pretty new.
Yeah, I have to watch it.
But
There's a
it was
lot of
really
tribute,
well
yeah.
done.
Oh, the book was great, The Blue Zones. And
Yeah.
there's a place I think it's somewhere in Japan
Yeah,
as well.
there's a Japan. There's I think other things in the book that he didn't include in the series, but
Mhm.
he there was a place in Los Angeles, Seventh Day Adventist, that
Okay.
because I think he wanted to do something in North America as well, and
Mhm.
they have a large community of elderly, and they, Seventh Day Adventists, they're into God, but it's almost like their health of their body and their eating is also a big part of their religion, like
Yeah, it's their
just as
temple.
much. Yeah,
Your body's
yeah,
your temple.
yeah.
Mhm.
Remember I think that restaurant we used to go to in Nashville used to be, I think that was Seventh Day Adventist, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah,
That
country life.
Country Life. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think they were Seventh Day Adventist. I found their cookbook.
Yes.
Such
Yes,
a
she
good
was
little
my
cookbook.
midwife,
Oh, wow.
the owner, Heather. Yes. Amazing, amazing woman when I had my daughter at home. Yeah, she was amazing. So, yeah, that's another podcast.
What is the midwife?
Oh, yeah, midwifery and childbirth and yeah.
That's for younger people. I'm not interested in that.
Okay, how about the over 50? Anyone have a story
An oops
about
story.
about having your baby in the cab or a bus or on your way to the hospital or
I think Satya's mother had him when she was in her 50s, her 10th child. She started when
wow.
she was 13 when she got married, had a child. This is in India.
Yeah, that's a
15.
whoops.
Yeah. Whoops. What do you mean? Oops.
50. 50.
Oh, Well, I don't know if it
You
was an
have
oops. I think they just weren't into birth control, I
well,
think.
I know, but it's not very common for a 50-year-old woman to have a baby.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
not very
imagine.
common. I mean, the little basket of eggs is pretty nil at this point. And, you know, I always think of the claw, the claw at the circuses, and it goes down to grab the eggs. And
Yeah.
I say this to my menopausal women. I said, so she goes like, could I get pregnant? I mean, I'm 55 and I'm still having a period. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't want to see that egg. I don't think it's going to make it to the top as the little claw comes up. you know,
Oh my.
that's just
Oh
really
my.
funny. Yeah. But anyway, you can make fun of yourself at 50 and then at 60. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems I feel like I'm definitely have a different story here. In
Mhm.
not a different story, but a different experience, I guess, is what it is with falling, after turning 60 and my body just sort of, but I still feel more overall more grateful than anything else because if I from the get-go I felt it could be so much worse. And I think that's what I wanted to kind of relay as well today is that we all know people that talk about their ailments all the time. Especially, I think, wasn't it? What were we talking on the phone the other day? And we can say we can relate to people a lot more now when you start talking about an ailment, then the other person starts talking about their ailment.
Well, sometimes you hear the seniors, and they're sitting talking and they're like, so how are you feeling? And it happens with my mom too. And they'll talk and go, oh, yeah, you had trouble with your gallbladder. Oh, yeah, me too. Oh, mine was the worst ever. And what did they do? It's like, they're like war stories, right?
Yeah,
Oh, and then I had this and I had that and I had that stint put in and I had that bypass and I had bowel surgery. And I'm like, I had a patient one time. I said, my goodness gracious, you've had so many parts removed. There's probably a person walking around with all your bits and bytes. She's like, probably, probably.
so you can relate to it now that you're getting closer, and yet you still
Yes.
want to be mindful not to. I mean, there's a time to share your war stories for sure.
Well,
That can be,
it's really funny though. Like even playing pickleball, and I'm pretty fast on the court, and it's a sport now. People in their 50s, 60s are really engaging with, and I just started to laugh the other day because the ball comes at you and it drops, so you bend down and get it right. You just don't even think about it. And then there's these peeps now playing it, and they've had knee replacements, and this one woman has a magnet on the end of her handle, so she just puts the paddle down and the ball goes floop to the magnet. So she doesn't even bend over. And I'm going, oh my God, that's just brilliant. That's just, where do you get that? Where the 30 or 40-year-old me would go, oh, for God's sake, give it up. Really? And now I'm like, that's really cool. Oh my gosh. Oi, oi, oi.
well, in
Oh,
the Netflix series, they did say getting up and down is one of the the common things is people that garden, older people that garden that are down, crouching down and squatting, they stay healthy because when you squat, it's not only good for your hip flexors and all the organs in your abdomen, it creates more space in your abdomen, more space for your bladder. Because one of the most common things as people get older is incontinence. And that's from like really tight hips, and that's no room for your bladder anymore. Everything's getting tight and squishing in. So the
mm-hmm.
more not squats, but squatting, like yoga type
Funny.
squatting that you do.
Mhm.
And you can put it, something underneath your heels because some people don't have, they have tight calves. And so you can put a towel or a garden pad underneath your heels. But yeah, if you don't move it, you lose it.
You
So I don't
do.
know about that magnet thing.
Motion is lotion. Yeah, but it was really cute,
It,
cute
I mean, it
because
is hilarious.
it's really funny. But she, she just has bend problems. I'm just thrilled she's out there playing.
Yeah. She has
You
a
know,
knee replacement, did you say?
yeah, she had knee replacements and she has really bad hips and you know what? She's 74 years
Wow.
old. And I'm like, good on you, girl. Put magnets on your tips of your toes if you need to. But you're not playing with
I'd put a
me.
magnet on my
No, I'm
paddle so the
kidding.
ball would be going towards the paddle.
Well, and then I'm down playing tennis with my grandkids, and I'm like, okay, now this is fast. They're like, it's just it's, there's so many variables, but we just have to embrace that we're just out there doing it. There doesn't have to be a gauge or a measurement stick or, a judgment on it. Just get out there and engage in it. Sometimes the conversation with young people playing and you just walk in and engage in the conversation is connection,
Yeah.
is beautiful, and it makes people feel good, and they have different stories to tell. And but the whole movement piece, you got to move. We
Yeah.
got to keep moving. We got to. What we'll
Yeah.
stop. We stop. We're done. We're
Well,
stopped.
don't you notice like that's one of the reasons why you're stiff in the morning is because you haven't moved much all night. Are you not stiff in the morning at all?
No, I'm not stiff. No,
At
I'm
all? Come
no,
on.
no. I'm honest. I'm honestly not. Even my friend who runs, she runs marathon. She's an iron woman. She's in now her mid to late 50s. And she said her body hurts. It hurts a lot, but she loves running. She loves it. It's something she loves to do. And she said maybe this year will be my last marathon. And I'll just do short runs. And I'm like, that sounds like a good plan, especially if you hurt a lot. But she loves it.
Yeah.
So, and her community and her running community, that's really, really important. But when I wake up in the morning, I sleep incredible. I'm not stiff at all. Honestly, the only time is if I've slept on my hand and I've been laying on my hand too long, and then I'm like, okay, that's whoa, I got to straighten it out. But
Yeah. Wow.
no, and then I get up and I do some stretches, and no,
Yeah, I mean it's natural for the body to be a little bit maybe stiff is the wrong word, but you're not moving quite as fluid
mhm.
when you first wake up. That's why stretching and doing yoga and doing more movement in the morning feels so good.
Yeah, you got to
Um
get the blood flowing. You got to get the
yeah,
circulation moving because
yeah.
everything slows down. Our sleep, our heart rate, sleep slows everything down. So even before we get out of bed to jump up to go to the bathroom, we should just stretch our fingers and our toes and our hips. So sometimes before I get out of bed, I might do like a hip turn or, just shift my body around and check in with it. But thank goodness right now, like in my life, no,
Yeah.
no,
And
there's
you're also the cleanest eating person I've ever met in my life. I mean, I'm kind of excited. Well, not kind of, I'm super excited to go to Sicily with you. We've got our
I know.
60th year
Can't
trip
wait.
planned in October. And because whenever I'm around you, I do eat. I mean, I eat pretty darn healthy all the time,
You do.
especially in the last year that you've helped me with the different eating plans that I've had. But it's like it takes it up a whole nother notch when I'm with you.
Well, and I'm very, very much consistent with my meditation when I'm with you. In fact, it lasts a little longer, which is great because the answer's in the silence. So it's really beautiful that we can stop. So it is all about balance, isn't it? Like we have to move and then we have to stop and then we have to meditate and or we don't have to if we don't want to, but it's what we choose to do, which is why we're friends and why we share all this information. And I am anyway, getting more and more comfortable just being real here, right? And
Yes.
just being real, and especially as you get older, it gets really a lot easier
To
to
be
get.
real and authentic, you think?
Yeah, it
Yeah, because
does.
you care less and less what other people think. You know that because it's not that you care less. It's like I think you realize because you do care less, but because you realize that people are going to have the same opinion of you no matter what you do.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
they're going
no
to have
matter
because
no matter where you are in this world, no matter, and this is an amazing platform because it's like not everybody's going to agree with half of what we talk about, but it
yeah,
doesn't matter. A lot of people will understand it and enjoy it, and we're just sharing information, and who knows,
yeah.
what will happen with it. I was speaking to a friend the other day who was interviewed. She's from Holland, and she was interviewed on a podcast when she was in her country. And someone from Germany reached out just to talk to her, just because of her message and she was talking about the energy of animals and dying and that whole conversation. And it was beautiful. And she said, I didn't think anyone was listening to me. I said, "Oh, Corinne and I are gonna have you on our
Oh,
podcast."
yeah. And I talked to my friend Sarah yesterday, as well as Sarah McLean, and she said she'd love to be on the podcast too. She said she wanted to talk about death and dying. So we could do an animal death and dying segment
Oh
and then a
yeah.
human death and dying segment
Yes,
with
because
Sarah.
well, yeah, because Sandra was talking about how animals, this is one beautiful piece when it's their time and her dog was senior and she stayed, didn't want to travel anywhere in his last year of life. And she said, the best gift you can give your animal is to be with them as they exit this world because they're so anxious and afraid, and sometimes humans are it's very similar. So the comfort is supporting and being with somebody. And COVID was challenging for a lot of people
Yeah,
because a lot
people
of people
had
couldn't.
died alone.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
they
that was,
still have to grieve that and mourn that and process all that and find a way through it.
yeah.
So it's the same with the animals and pets. And so, we got lots of stuff to talk about.
There's so much, especially
There's
when, I
so
mean, you and
much.
I have never had a shortage of things to talk about.
Help. Obviously, almost, 40 years of a friendship, over 35, and you can't shut us up.
Nope.
Nope.
I'm very happy. So, Ed, it was another deep dive today.
It was awesome. So wonderful.
Mm.
Until we meet again,
Be authentic.
be well,
Be happy.
be kind.
Just be.